Kismet, a 400-foot lesson in stagecraft, wellness, and quiet power. There's a single design cue on Kismet that makes first-time guests underestimate her size until she moves, and then the illusion snaps. It's not the jaguar at the bow, and it's not the pool. Keep watching. I'll reveal it at the very end and show how it changes the way your eye reads 122 meters of steel and light. Opening sequence. Arrival on her terms. Dawn in the Med, the sea barely creased. A charcoal silver hull noses past the headland, and the harbor falls silent in that involuntary way crowds hush in theaters when a curtain stirs. Kismet doesn't announce herself with gimmicks. She arrives. The line is lean, the shoulders are athletic, and the pace is unhurried. Like a ballet dancer walking into the spotlight already mid-performance. From a chase boat, you feel scale in your body first. The way the water she pushes becomes a textured plane. And then the details register. A sculpted bow with a leaping jaguar. Terraced decks that read as rooms in the open air. And a profile that stays taut even as it stacks amenities like a small resort. Everything about Kismet speaks to a modern brief. Take the volume and capability of a 122-meter Lurssen and distill it into privacy, wellness, and choreography. That trifecta is what separates a great big boat from a great boat that happens to be big. Overview: what she is in one breath. Launched and delivered in 2024, Kismet is a 122-meter, roughly 400 feet, custom Lurssen with exterior architecture by Nuvolari-Lenard and interior design by Reymond Langton. She carries the kind of gross tonnage, just under 5,000 GT, that you feel as ceiling height, corridor generosity, and the ability for spaces to breathe when a dozen conversations are happening at once. Underway, she cruises comfortably around 12 to 15 knots, and will top out near 18 knots, with long leg autonomy that makes seasons feel like chapters rather than sprints. She's a full-displacement steel hull with an aluminum superstructure, and the systems depth you expect from a top-tier Lurssen flagship. But paper specs don't explain why people react to her the way they do. The reason is balance. The way the exterior lines carry weight, the way the wellness suite centers the guest experience, and the way a modern hybrid power plant supports quiet moments without turning tech into a headline. Kismet is less a floating palace than a moving private peninsula. You live across terraces and courtyards that just happen to travel. Exterior language. Lines that edit the mass. From the waterline up, the styling is disciplined. The bow projects forward in a crisp spear that frames the jaguar figurehead like a compositional anchor. Iconic, yes, but also aerodynamically tidy. Midships, the superstructure steps are carved to keep shadow lines clean. So at speed, the silhouette tightens rather than bulks up. Aft, the terraces cascade in measured proportions. The pool doesn't read as a box bolted to a transom. It reads as a room that happens to hold water. One of my favorite tells, the way the helipad integrates without turning the deck plan into an airport. It's a certified helipad, serious kit, and procedures, but visually it disappears into geometry until the last minute. That's the kind of stagecraft that makes a 400-footer feel elegant. Beach club life. Water level as a lifestyle. The beach club is not just a place to put lanterns and daybeds. It's where a modern yacht either earns its lifestyle reputation or loses it. On Kismet, water-level living feels inevitable. The platform is broad and low, so the sea meets the deck on friendly terms. Steps feather into the water. Side openings act like breezeways, and the whole zone connects to a mosaic-lined aft pool with a glass end wall so swimmers face an endless horizon. Sound rolls in soft off the wake, and you catch salt and cedar in the air from the spa next door. When a tender returns, boarding looks like choreography rather than a dock fight. Interior philosophy. Soft power meets theater. Very few interiors can handle a party at midnight and a yoga flow at sunrise without a mood clash. Reymond Langton's solution is contrast done with care. Some rooms whisper pale marbles, textured leathers, warm metals that glow rather than shout. Other spaces embrace theater. A double-height saloon punctuated by a video wall, sculptural lighting that hangs like constellations, fireplaces that make a winter anchorage feel conspiratorially cozy. The palette moves with you, cooler near water, richer as you rise, and sight lines pull daylight deep into rooms you expect to be dark on a vessel this large. The owner's suite is a narrative of its own, spread across 2 decks with a skylit volume and its own fireplace. It reads like a pied-à-terre lifted whole from a city you love. There's a private outdoor zone for sun and air, a true office that respects real work, and that rare thing on a yacht, flow that lets you move between being social and being alone without feeling like you've left the party. The Wellness Core, a real regeneration machine. Spa can be a brochure word. Here, it's an operational center. The wellness deck reads like a boutique clinic. Hammam, sauna, steam, a cryo chamber, cold plunge, ice fountain, dedicated treatment room, and a chromotherapy bathtub for sessions that blur the line between recovery and ritual. The gym faces the sea with opening terraces and the gear you actually use. The yoga studio feels calm without feeling precious. After a long overnight passage, you can stage a personal reset. Cold-hot cycles, breath work, espresso, sunlight, and hit shore ready. That's real value. How you feel when the tender kisses the dock. Hybrid power, quiet moments, and smart systems. Under the floors, the story gets nerdy in the best way. Kismet runs a hybrid powertrain with full electric capability for short windows and battery-assisted low-speed operation that makes sensitive anchorages and late-night arrivals feel civilized. Heat recovery loops scavenge energy to warm pool water, and dynamic positioning lets the yacht anchor electronically in protected zones without dropping steel. None of this exists to add buzzwords to a spec sheet. It exists to create quiet, the most luxurious commodity on the water, and to make the ship's hotel load act like a grown-up resident of the bays and cities she visits. The cinema trick, underwater, under your skin. The lower deck Nemo cinema is a flex, yes, but it's also excellent design. A tiered theater with a massive screen, acoustics that tame the low-frequency rumble that ruins so many yacht cinemas, and underwater viewing that changes the way kids and grown-ups experience a movie night. When the sea outside the glass is as compelling as the film, you've nailed it. Day in the life, a seamless 24 hours. Morning lands on the foredeck where breeze is clean and the light comes in slant. Coffee is not a concept, it's a system. Barista grade, built into crew workflow so cups appear when eyes lift. The owner rides a short heli-hop to a meeting while friends run the coastline by tender. An hour later, everyone's back for a languid lunch that actually stays warm because service elevators and galleys were designed around heat and distance, not just pretty cabinetry. Afternoons are the pool, spa, gym, or a movie with kids in the Nemo room while the yacht repositions at an unhurried 12 knots. There's a DJ set on the bridge deck dance floor at golden hour. and dinner moves from tasting menu to family style without changing the mood. Midnight finds you barefoot at the aft fire pit, watching the water glow around the hull. Sleep is hotel level. Temperature true, air fresh, vibration down in the realm of good silence. Guest and crew reality. Luxury is continuity. Charter setups typically cap guests at 12 and 8 suites, supported by a crew in the mid-30s. Private itineraries can stage more complex arrangements, but the headline remains service. The best interiors and spas in the world still fail if towels don't arrive warm or a breakfast run hits a bottleneck. Kismet's hospitality runs like a small hotel with wings, interior teams, deck teams, engineers, and aviators moving as one. The result is continuity. Days that don't get interrupted by logistics, gear, or weather. Numbers that matter. Specs in plain English. Here's the hard math behind the poetry. Length overall, about 122 meters. That's 400 feet and change. Beam, roughly 17 meters. Draft, just over 4.4 meters. A sweet spot for Mediterranean life that still lets you nose into memorable anchorages. Gross tonnage, approximately 4,918 GT. Volume you feel in the way stairwells breathe and lounges never feel cramped. Speed, up to about 18 knots with an easy 12 to 15 knot cruise. Hull is steel, superstructure aluminum. The deck plan stacks 5 primary guest decks. Performance is the science. Serenity is the outcome. You hear it when doors close with a soft thump instead of a rattle, and you feel it when a long crossing leaves faces fresh. Money talk, charter reality, operating logic, and value. Straight to the point. Kismet is a top-tier charter platform with a starting rate around $3 million per week, about 3 million euros, depending on season and itinerary, with the usual extras: fuel, provisions, berthing, taxes, and gratuities, layered on top. That's rarefied air, and it reflects 2 truths: the boat itself and the fact that a charter on a yacht like this is essentially a private resort migrating to wherever you want the horizon to be. For owners and long-term programs, annual running costs on a yacht of this scale land in the many tens of millions once you stitch together crew, refit cadence, class and survey, insurance, fuel, logistics, and aviation. Sticker shock fades when you realize the use case: a platform that compresses time and expands privacy for the few weeks that matter most in a calendar year. Comparisons, where Kismet sits in the 120-plus meter club. Compared to Luminance at 138.8 meters, Kismet trades a few meters of length for theater. That video wall, the dance floor choreography, and a wellness core that feels like a flagship spa rather than a corner hidden aft. Against blue at 160 meters, Kismet is the more expressive object. The Jaguar, the lighting, the curated drama of terraces, while blue leans embassy quiet and engineering forward. Versus Opera at 146 meters, Kismet feels more contemporary. Opera is palatial hush. In other words, if you want the boat that performs on camera and recovers your body in equal measure, Kismet is your target. Access and itinerary logic, the heli advantage. One certified helipad changes everything. You run the yacht for comfort, best anchorage, best water, and fly the schedule. Meetings inland, a museum stop, a late arrival by friends whose flight slid 3 hours. The deck team runs aviation like a second language, while the rest of the party never feels the seam between air and sea. That's the superpower guests remember. The day never breaks. My take, why she feels different. I've filmed and written around mega yachts that overwhelm by sheer presence. Kismet does something subtler. She edits. The lines reduce mass. The interiors alternate hush with spectacle. The systems create pockets of silence where your nervous system catches up. Add the wellness engine and the heli logistics, and you get a platform that's not just luxurious, it's humane. After 12 hours underway and 3 hours of spa sleep espresso, you step off feeling like the day is beginning rather than ending. That's the point. Help power the next deep dive. If this tour changed how you see Kismet, please hit like right now. It tells YouTube to recommend this film to more luxury fans. Comment the one feature you'd use first: the cryo suite, the underwater cinema, or the aft pool with the glass wall. Subscribe for weekly deep dives across yachts and jets. Want behind-the-scenes access and early drops? Tap Join to become a member. If this research saved you time, a super thanks directly funds our next on-water shoot. And don't forget to drop a free hype score. Type HYPE in the comments to push this video higher in suggested with zero cost. The reveal, the illusion you've been seeing all along. At the top, I promised the design cue that tricks your eye. It's the shadow line discipline across the superstructure steps. Nuvolari-Lenard sculpted the overhangs so the mid-body reads slimmer at speed. Your brain lengthens the bow and tightens the stern, making 122 meters look even longer and leaner than the number suggests. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's Kismet's great magic. A giant that moves like a line drawing.